Evening, friends and family of all the viewers who are watching this podcast today. And today we have a very special guest with us. So I would like to introduce Mr. Shubham Gupta, who's a 2019 batch IAS officer, who's currently posted as an assistant collector at Etapalli and working with government of Maharashtra. So without further ado, let's start the podcast. So I would like to start by giving the introduction of Growdiesel. So at Growdiesel, we are fighting climate change by solving two big problems: waste elimination and biofuel generation. We convert waste into biofuel. Till date, we have eliminated more than 250,000 metric tons of waste and converted that waste into biofuel. With this, I would like to have a quick superhero introduction of our guest today. So, Mr. Shubham, one quick superhero introduction about you in 30 seconds. Who is Shubham Gupta?
Right. So Shubham Gupta is an IAS officer of the 2019 batch. I'm somebody who likes to innovate, who likes to experiment with new technologies, who likes to be related, who likes to be connected to the latest happenings around the world. Climate change is something which is very close to my heart. We are trying to do a couple of interesting things with trying to help out with climate change. And I am from Jaipur. I did my college from Delhi. I am an economics graduate, and that's all about me.
All right. So I would like to dig down a little deep, probably in your school or college life. And I want you to share one crazy story from your college or school time that you are super proud of.
I'm really so when I actually I've done my schooling from a very small place called Vapi, right? So it was something where I mean it was a very small town where I did my schooling from. When I immediately went to Delhi, it was a altogether different experience for me. And when I went to Delhi, it was a South Delhi college. It's like South Bombay. So everybody used to speak in English and all that. So I was pretty nervous and I was pretty anxious. How will I be able to manage in a place like that? But of course, I had to. So in the first 6 months, I didn't talk to anybody. Just went to spell class. I just went on, started sitting in the first bench, just listening to classes in college. So it is a big deal that way. And finally, one of those days, one fine day, I sat myself down and decided कि चलो आज तो बात करनी पड़ेगी. I have to make some friends. Otherwise, this college life will become completely disaster. So I decided to I chose one girl that I had to talk to. Like I had to make friends, try to be friends with her. And then I finally went down and sort of to talk to her. And then it was a good conversation. Ultimately, I think the thing that made me most proud about it was that I was really scared that how will I speak to them in English. But eventually, after 2 sentences, everybody speaks Hindi in Delhi also, right? So the most interesting part is that to speak those 2 sentences, which is what is your name and how are you, it took me about 6 months. So I think just to gather that courage after 6 months is something which makes me proud, and it's pretty interesting. So that way.
So Mr. Gupta, you rightly mentioned कि जो पहली दो लाइनें होती है उसमें तो you have to be that South Delhi or South Mumbai kind of the guy, and उसके बाद सब अपने देसी हो जाते हैं. Yeah. So pretty interesting, diving deep into your college life. So I want to ask you that you are currently posted in the services. So what motivated you to do what you are doing right now? What was that triggering point?
Right. I think triggering point would be something which, so in 10th standard, I was the only person in my entire district. That year, the grading system was introduced by CBSE. So I was the only person in the entire district to score a 10 on 10. So everybody wanted to push me to take science because apparently अच्छे बच्चे तो science ही लेते हैं. But then I was not interested in becoming an engineer or a scientist for that matter. So it was a lot of discussion and I had to really justify my choice to my teachers. And that is when I had to actually sit myself, I had to probably had a 2-hour discussion with my elder brother कि अब मैं कैसे justify करूँ इनको कि मुझे science क्यों नहीं लेनी है, and that is why I had to give them a concrete plan. The concrete plan is that I will apparently go to Delhi University and then I will choose economics honors and then I will appear for UPSC. So that is the only plan which could convince my teachers कि अच्छा ठीक है, we will let you sort of go with commerce and not science. So that is, I think, probably the triggering point. But I mean, jokes apart, the triggering point was also this, that apparently when I actually started to talk to myself about what I wanted to do in my life, it really helped me to understand that services is one thing where I will be able to sort of, get that satisfaction in my life, get that happiness in my life by being amidst the people. and not by probably earning a lot of money or being super famous and all that. So those are the things not which I'm personally not looking for, and that is why I'm sitting here.
So did you expect the kind of recently in the past few years, we have seen that the young bureaucrats are getting a lot of attention, especially in the social media. So did you expect that, or that was that one of the triggering point? Yeah, that fame is probably something that also was a key triggering point for you.
Not at all. So again, when I was in school, I told you I'm from a very small town. I didn't even know what Facebook, and I mean, I of course knew what Facebook is, but I didn't even know Twitter kaise chalta hai and all that. So I had no idea, and I was not at all looking at those things. But of course, now it was a very different experience for me when I was able to score a decent enough rank in 2019, and that is when the world around me changed a lot. If I had scored probably 100 below, then nobody would have talked to me that much, unless I was doing something which I really want. Like, I want people to talk about my work and not about my rank. But unfortunately, in the past couple of years, it has been that people tend to talk a lot about my rank and not my work. But I think in the last couple of months, I've tried to change that, and things are changing positively in that direction. So yes.
Absolutely. And in fact, my next question was related to this particular thing only. So what is the biggest problem that you have solved, and how did you do it? It could be a personal matter, it could be something in your work, it could be something in your college, anything which you consider as the biggest problem that you have solved.
I think the biggest problem, I mean, I won't call it a problem, but this is something which I have preemptively done. And it's a recent project which we have done on blockchain, basically putting car certificates on blockchain. And this is again driven from my previous experience. I was in Nashik earlier, and I encountered a scenario where somebody had falsified a car certificate and got lands transferred in his name, which basically belong to the scheduled tribes. So there are basically certain specific rules when it comes to transfer of lands belonging to the scheduled tribals in the country. So I wanted to do something about that preemptively, and when I came to this place, we wanted to do this project, and I'm really glad that we were able to execute this project in about 3 months. And wow, this is the first time in the entire country that something like this has been attempted, putting car certificates on blockchain. And I'm really glad that after this, in the last one and a half months, I have gotten so many queries from so many different people that not only car certificates are being put on blockchain all over the country, but also many other governance initiatives are being attempted on blockchain, just because people could see that something like this could be attempted, and not the fact that it was not being done earlier, but probably because I belong to a place which is so remote, so rural, that people were just could see that passion, and see that potential in the technology. Because if I can do this here, then probably a Nashik or a Bombay can do it much, much, much better. So I think that is what has taken, sort of inspired people a little bit, and I'm really happy about that.
So I would like to tell to the audience who will be listening to this particular thing. So if you listened to this particular section by Mr. Gupta very carefully, how he belonging to a small town, getting to Delhi University and finally cracking the toughest exam in the world. And finally, when he was in the services, he executed something which is truly commendable and which is so new in terms of technology for everyone. So I think that speaks volume about Mr. Gupta. So commendable job, Mr. Gupta, for that. And my next question, a follow-up question to that is, since we've also worked extensively with the government, we have also seen that whenever we are trying to introduce something new, there's a lot of friction, and that is due to various reasons. Because first there needs to be a proof of concept, then there has to be a series of approvals, and at times we are not able to communicate our ideas and execution to the decision makers. So how did you get over that friction? I'm pretty sure that you must be also having that friction.
Right. So I think more than friction, it's the inertia of change, which generally plagues the government and administration, So, and I mean, of course, being in Maharashtra, it was generally relatively easier for me to go through that process as compared to probably some other states of the country. But even then, like for funding requirements, I had to go through 3 or 4 different channels. I got rejected, I think, probably at 3 different places before that, and on the 4th chance I was lucky to sort of get funding along with another project. So that's one of the inertias, because people never really two things, like people never really believed in the potential of the idea. Only if when it gets picked up at the level of the state or the country, then people realize that this was something, this project is really started in a place called Etapalli. Like people don't even believe that Etapalli actually belongs to Maharashtra, So, I mean, that's something which is, which happens only in hindsight. And two, because people didn't think that this kind of a project like this is required in a place like Etapalli, which doesn't have roads, which doesn't have 4G connectivity, But I thought that probably this is something which needs to be done in places like this to change the perception of the place, So inertias like, I mean, probably little bit of hindrances like that did happen in my journey, but I'll still say that being in Maharashtra, it was relatively much easier for me as compared to probably some other parts of the country.
So, Mr. Gupta, I learned two very interesting things from whatever you just mentioned, and I would like to reframe it for the audience. Number one, you talked about that inertia of change. So I think, yes, whenever we are trying something new, there is this inertia of change which is there, but how you overcame it. And second, the more interesting part is that a lot of times we believe that कुछ भी टेक्नोलॉजी ओरिएंटेड होना है, it has to be either in Bombay, Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad. But even if you ask me honestly, I would have never imagined an initiative of this magnitude will be executed in a tier 3 town or tier 3 area. So I think it's a very important lesson for all the people who are watching this, that just because you belong to a smaller town doesn't mean innovation cannot take place over there. So I think that is pretty commendable, that what you did for this particular initiative. I'm pretty moved by this. So I want to ask you, what have been your three major learnings from this initiative which you executed?
Right. So I think three major learnings. One would be, one would be to sort of always be open to imagination, So I mean, that's something which I've fortunately been, I have always believed in this, and fortunately I think I will still keep on believing, especially after this project, and that it is always good to imagine and always good to have a vision, which probably allows people around you to also dream a little bit, allows people around you to sort of get motivated themselves, that we can also do something, and that's something which is very important for a person like me, because ultimately there are so many people looking up to me on a daily basis, that I have to be have that kind of vision in me, that we are going to do something about this place, So that is one thing. Two is, as you rightly pointed out, no place is small for innovation. So extremely important, because like I say, I'm really sure that the Maharashtra government is going to pick up the Star Certificate Initiative, and whenever the history of this project is going to be written, Etapalli is going to be the first pilot, and that's something which will give pride not only to the administration of Gadchiroli, but also to the people of Etapalli, that this is really where innovation and radical transformation happened in terms of e-governance, And third is this: always imagine administration to be as people friendly as possible. And I think all these ideas came to me only when I start to think of how should I make administration easier for the people? How should I make the government reach to the people rather than the other way around? So those are the biggest three learnings for me. And I'm really young into the service. It's just been a couple of years, but I'm doing the best to whatever I can.
I'm pretty, I can vouch for that. So I would like to rephrase those three learnings which Mr. Gupta mentioned. Number one, that be imaginative and always have a vision. Number two, no place is small for innovation. And number three, that administration should be people friendly. And I think that will be my biggest takeaway till now, that I absolutely agree that administration and all these processes should be as people friendly as possible. And bureaucrats like Mr. Gupta are working really hard to do that. So a follow-up question to that, Mr. Gupta, how have your superiors reacted to this initiative?
I think, again, Maharashtra has a culture of encouraging innovation, and I was really glad then. One of the leading newspapers, Indian Express, fortunately covered this initiative, and it appeared on the front page. And that's when it got into the community, that the people realized, the seniors, the IAS officers, IPS officers realized that something is happening in this place. And I got really, encouraging messages from many of my seniors on common groups and on in personal chats and all that, which really encouraged me that this is something which would have actually backfired on me also, because there are with a technology like blockchain, people are not very comfortable, but all my seniors were very encouraging and very motivating in that sense, and they were really proud of the way I am trying to do something different. And and many of them were really supportive, and I'm really glad about that.
So one thing which you mentioned, encouraging innovation. Just a few months back, I was interacting with Additional Chief Secretary of Maharashtra, Dr. Shamlal Goyal, sir. He retired in December. And he also mentioned this particular point, that in Maharashtra, everyone is very encouraging towards innovation. Like there is certain kind of resistance at times, but the kind of environment that is there around promoting innovation, that is massive. So I think that's pretty interesting to see, because a lot of places are not as privileged when it comes to promoting innovation, because everyone wants proof of concept and no one wants to have fingers pointed at them. So I think it takes a great deal to pull something off, and such ecosystem is really needed, even in administration. So I completely resonate there. Now I would like to shift the focus from you, and I would like to bring the focus on that one character or multiple characters in your initiative whom you would like to thank, who were there at your back, who made it happen. Who are those people or that person who made it happen?
Right. So I think, especially in terms of administration, I think the collector of Gadchiroli, sir, was very, very kind enough to sanction the funds for it, and he was very encouraging. Not only when I was trying to start the project, but also when this project got executed. So he was really happy about that, and he was really encouraging. So I think if he probably would not have extended those funds to me, I would not have been able to do this project. So that's absolutely number one. I also would like to thank Legit Doc, Neil Kevin Martis, who is who is the co-founder of Legit Doc. And this startup was really something which changed my mind across how things can be executed and how technology can be made people friendly. So we tried to use the most complex technology, but present the most friendly face to the people of how a technology can be put forward. And that's something which is really difficult to do, but it takes, it makes the technology so much accessible to the people that it is really commendable. Then there is an organization called Maharashtra State Innovation Society. They have always been, I think, the flag bearers of innovation across, not only in Maharashtra, but across the country for that matter. And the team is super. The team is great. There, the CEO, Deepender Singh Kushwaha, is also an IAS officer, a senior of mine. He's also commendably encouraging. And so all those people I would really like to thank. And of course, my family. So, because of course, they had to bear with my being, because I'm really passionate about things, and I can completely lose sense of time and space if I'm in that frame of mind. So just to bear with me.
I mean, that's pretty amazing, Mr. Gupta. So the reason I asked Mr. Gupta this question is because whenever we are trying to achieve something, it could be a goal, it could be some project, the collective teamwork and the collaborative spirit is what will make that project happen and successful. So in his case, in his story, those characters were his superior, his boss, who sanctioned the funds. Then the organization called Legit Doc, which helped him implement this initiative. Then there was Maharashtra State Innovation Society, who were always up for such projects and innovative things. And finally, the family, who are always there with us in our thick and thin situations. So I think pretty nice to know about all these people who supported you to execute this particular initiative. Now I want to ask you, apart from this, what is the most innovative thing that you have done? Apart from this is surely the innovative thing, but apart from this.
So again, it was something again. So I like to experiment with things. So I think about 7 or 8 months back, I was just trying to think of a way to make my visiting cards. And I came across this company called Wildlands India, and they were making cards, which basically, if it is thrown into the wild, it grows into a plant, and I was thinking like, because I think about myself, whenever somebody gives me a card, I probably note down the number and throw the card into the dustbin, right? So I'm like, if it has to be thrown, let it grow into a plant, right? Why not? Why not that? A lot of people actually came up to me and told me, who would throw your card away? But then the card automatically degrades, right? So it has to be thrown away. So ultimately the purpose is fulfilled. So it was a very small thing. It was just probably something which I wanted to do for my own self, not for anybody else. But the social media has this amazing power of doing things, right? So I basically, when this card came to me, I just clicked the picture and posted it on Twitter and LinkedIn. And LinkedIn just went crazy, like I think 28 lakh or 29 lakh people saw this post of mine.
I was one of
And
them.
at that point of time, I had probably 1,000 followers or 500 followers or something. And a lot of random people started sending my own post to me on WhatsApp, that, oh, I saw this post of yours and all that. The good thing is that so many people started contacting Wildlands after that, that I was really glad that this could again make a little dent into the system, the carbon polluting system that unfortunately we are living in. That little bit more trees as compared to what would generally have happened will start to get planted, because I'm supposed to give out certain cards, and I'm sure many other people are probably taking up the same initiative. And that's something which, because every small step has to be valued in this long journey of dealing with climate change, in today's world. And that's something which, again, I won't say that it's a big deal, but it's something which had a big impact, although I started at a very small level. So yes.
Absolutely. In fact, even I was one of those people who got to know about it through LinkedIn only, because I'm very active on LinkedIn. And to all the viewers who are watching it, it really doesn't matter. Whenever we talk about fighting climate change, I've mentioned it a couple of times, you do not have to do big things. I'm not telling you to stop using your vehicles. I'm not telling you to turn off your ACs. But I always highlight this fact that do what you can. And Mr. Gupta, he's just one initiative of making that decision कि एक visiting card ही तो है, उसको मैं replace कर देता हूँ किसी एक eco-friendly alternative से. What's the harm in that? And the kind of social value it brought in the social media, it is just commendable. So I think that is the power of social media, and probably influencers like you who are at such a position who can create that kind of positive influence. So first of all, I would really like to thank you on behalf of this planet for taking that one small initiative, because maybe I would have not known you. I mean, I would have known you, but maybe not because of this reason, which got me very interested in having this conversation with you. So thank you so much for doing that one small initiative, and I'm pretty sure it will do big changes ahead. Now, toning down the conversation a little bit towards the fun side. So if you get 10 crore rupees right now versus, if you get 10 crore rupees right now, what problem will you solve?
I'll solve the problem of carbon emissions. I'll plant a lot of trees.
You'll plant a lot of trees. Okay. So again, a very, very noble cause, Mr. Gupta. So now coming to the rapid fire round before we finally disperse for the climate section. So it has just 11 questions, and you don't have time to think. You just have to answer on the spot, impromptu. Okay, are we good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Web series or movies?
Web series.
Books or documentaries?
Books.
Carrot or stick?
Carrot.
Sleeping or partying?
Partying.
Okay, summers or winters?
Winters.
Mountains or beaches?
Mountains.
Emails or letters?
Letters.
Emails.
Letters.
Okay. Linkin Park or Coldplay?
Coldplay.
Okay. Answer this very carefully. Labasna or Delhi University?
Delhi University. Delhi University, definitely.
Delhi University.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't see that coming. Because you got to break the ice with that girl, is it?
It's because Delhi University is what got me into Labasna. That's
pretty interesting to do that, Mr. Gupta. Okay, so the 5 interesting questions for me as we move to the last section of this podcast, which is the climate action section. And like I keep on emphasizing on this fact that take some actions and all. Even I'll tell you something, this t-shirt which I'm wearing is made up of recycled plastic bottles and recycled cotton. So I have discarded all my t-shirts from my wardrobe, and all I wear is just 2 t-shirts, gray or green are my colors, and made up of recycled plastic bottles. So I want to ask you very candidly, what are your views on climate change?
I think climate change is probably one of the biggest dangers that the whole planet is facing right now. And I don't think there are any two views about it. Like it's happening all around you. You just have to open your eyes and start seeing it in every small detail. That, for example, this year, many parts of the country are experiencing the biggest heat wave. Like five states in the country have been issued an orange alert. Uh, the adjacent district from here is experiencing a temperature of 47 degrees for the first time in its history. So you just have to open your eyes around it, and you'll see that climate change is probably the biggest danger. And like you absolutely rightly said, that every small initiative, every small effort in this direction is going to help us out in dealing with it. But more than that, I think it's very important for all of us to appeal to the government and appeal to the corporates that a lot of effort, a lot of active effort is required in this direction to deal with this problem. And only then will we be able to do that. We are doing our bit, but probably we need to do much, much, much more.
Yeah, I think I completely resonate with that, especially where you mentioned about this rising temperature. Even in Delhi, it is expected that the temperature may reach 50 degrees Celsius, and that is insane. And as per a study, I think you might also know about it, that as per a study, our temperature is going to rise by 1.5 degrees by 2030, which was initially 15 years back. It was expected that this 1.5 degree rise in temperature will be witnessing in year 2100. So we have escalated this by probably by lightning speed. So I think, yes, every small initiative matters. And I would like to ask you, what is that one climate initiative you are aware about, which maybe you would like to share with the audience? Any climate initiative which you are aware
Absolutely. And this initiative we are trying to execute in Etapalli for that matter. So this is something about climate, carbon credits. And this is something which has already happened, So this is carbon credit. I think I see it as a solution which is a win-win for both. And how is it a win-win? Basically, carbon credit is that you sequester carbon at one place or you restore carbon at one place. You earn some credits and you basically sell it off to corporates who are, despite their best efforts, not being able to sort of, be carbon neutral or be carbon negative, because places like Gadchiroli, places like Jharkhand, places like Chhattisgarh, they have this immense forest potential, and they have this immense landscape that this can be used to plant more trees, plant bamboo trees, which are huge repositories of naturally storing carbon from the atmosphere. Then there are multiple initiatives like permanent carbon storage. Then there's something called carbon disposal system, and multiple mining system can be used to sequester carbon permanently in the ground. So there are multiple things happening around it. What we are trying to do here is to use trees, use the natural way of, and probably the most powerful way of sequestering carbon from the atmosphere, by planting a lot of bamboo trees, a lot of different other varieties of trees, and along with an organization called Farmers for Forest. They are pretty active here, and along with them, we hope to not only make this place, which is already a carbon negative place, but not only make this place a supplier of immense amounts of carbon credits to other people, but also set an example as to how such a landscape can be used to make right initiatives in the right direction in terms of carbon sequestration and carbon management, and hopefully, meanwhile, in this process, we also end up providing some sort of livelihood to the people by providing the money which comes along with registration of a carbon credit.
That's pretty amazing, Mr. Gupta. I mean, I didn't see that coming, that you're already working in the carbon credit space. I honestly didn't see that coming. And it is pretty commendable because whenever we talk about certain initiatives like carbon credits and afforestation and such projects, first of all, a lot of times when we see there's a barrier to make the officials understand. But if an official like you who already has an understanding, who has developed that understanding, and who has that courage to take that leap of faith and execute it, I think a lot of problems can be solved. And like you rightly mentioned, that carbon credits is a very good medium even for other places, people who might watch this video. It's a very interesting instrument for raising funds to make a particular project financially viable. I understand that a lot of times government sector is short and is having a cash crunch, but if we are able to introduce some environmental project the revenue generation can be ensured from that carbon credits. So I think there's one particular story which I would like to share about you on LinkedIn, and I really hope that this gets viral so that other bureaucrats also do certain initiatives like these. So I'm pretty moved. I'm very, very motivated after hearing you right now. So, so do you think that our governments, corporations, and institutions doing enough to fight climate change?
We are doing a lot actually, Shrey. So again, I mean, it's a debate which is very right into the heart of things. You know, when you're talking about the global level, then India is doing more than it probably is expected to do, because we are historically disadvantaged in terms of where we should be in terms of industry, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of all those aspects which require uh, putting things into place. But like large parts of the country even today face power shortages, power cuts, and all that. A lot of it also has to do because predominantly we are coal dependent in terms of electricity. But even then, we are putting right initiatives in towards moving towards renewable energy, solar energy. So all those things, all those aspects are being taken care of by the government. But I definitely think that there are a lot of wonderful organizations who are doing a lot of work in terms of carbon management and climate change, and those organizations really need to be helped out a lot, much more than what they are being helped out, how they are being helped out right now, because internationally the scale is completely different. In India, it takes a lot of effort for an organization to come up to a government, or for that matter to an organization, and tell them, okay, please give us money because we want to plant more trees. People laugh it off and people just send you out because they don't believe in this idea of using their money to plant a tree, because apparently there will be some cattle who will eat up the tree, or apparently there will be some a mismanagement of funds, or apparently it's all just a facade. So but it is extremely important for the government as well as the corporates to really understand the value of the contribution being made by these organizations, but at the same time make a definite positive contribution in terms of not only policy decisions, but also in terms of encouraging more funding towards these causes. I again would like to definitely mention the government of Maharashtra. It is probably a totally different, on a totally different scale when it comes to dealing with climate change. I'll just give you an example. Maharashtra government from April 1st has completely done away with all traditional fuel-driven vehicles. Only electric vehicles and hydrogen-powered vehicles are allowed to be taken on rent or bought by government offices. This is done recently. Maharashtra government is probably the only state in the country to declare I think four districts as or four cities as part of the climate-free, carbon-free city initiative. And this is all because the administration, the bureaucracy, the political system is all very inclined towards dealing with this system, and probably become a leader for others to sort of emulate when it comes to dealing with climate change, because the problem is right there. It's only for us to sort of just try to open our eyes and see and do something about it.
And I completely resonate with you because you mentioned that even though that India is generating a majority of its electricity from non-renewable sources, so I would like to even tell it to the viewers that the total energy consumption of our country is 350 gigawatts. Okay. And from year 2010 to year 2020, there has been a drastic rise in the renewable energy sector. So out of the 350 gigawatts of energy, 35% of it is being generated from the renewable sector, which is a commendable thing. And we have achieved it in just last 10 years. So I think that we are on a very right trajectory. Secondly, you mentioned that I was not aware about those four cities which you mentioned that they are already carbon neutral, or they have done a lot of initiatives to fight climate change. But there's something in the people of Maharashtra, even the leaders like Nitin Gadkari sir, who is very passionate about renewable energy and biofuels and all these initiatives. And then I've had an honor of talking to a lot of bureaucrats of Maharashtra. And every time I talk to people of your state, I feel so good that I'm so enthusiastic at the same time. So I think right things are happening. A lot needs to be done, but as a country, governments are doing their things. But as an individual, you have to do something as well. So my urge to all the viewers out there, if you are not doing any action to fight climate change, you have absolutely no right to criticize any organization, any government for that matter. I'm very brutal when it comes to such kind of conversation, because it all starts with you. So like Mr. Gupta rightly mentioned, every initiative counts, and you have to also be a part of the solution rather than just criticizing. So with this, I would like to ask you one final question, and that is again related to one climate action that you pledge to do and urge the viewers to do as well. What is that one thing that you would urge all the viewers to do?
I think I pledged to plant about 30 trees in 30 days for the next, for the next 10 years. So I plan, I can, in other words, I can say I plan to plant 365 trees in every year for the next 10 years. That's my plan.
Oh, that's amazing. So 365 days and 365 trees, is it?
Yes, for the next 10 years. Yes.
Oh, that's commendable. That's pretty interesting, Mr. Gupta. And I once again thank you for your precious time. And although this interaction was scheduled yesterday, but I think you were occupied, but you were very kind enough to give me a time today morning. And I feel pretty motivated after hearing your stories about the characters who helped you achieve one of the most innovative projects on blockchain and relating with the government. So I think this one session was probably one of my biggest learnings in comparison to all the college lectures that I've attended. So I really thank you for having with us today morning. So let me just close the recording and we can just have a quick chat. Okay. Offline chat.